The news broke like a thunderstorm over Central Europe, sending shockwaves through capitals and living rooms alike. It was as if the very air crackled with uncertainty and the world paused to listen. Hungary explores BRICS membership, pivots east. The headlines blared, signaling a dramatic shift in the nation's foreign policy and hinting at a new era of alliances that could reshape the region's balance of power. On Budapest's streets, the crisp October air felt heavy with tension. Conversations were hushed, glances exchanged with uncertainty, as if everyone sensed that history was being written in real time. The city, a symbol of post-Soviet liberation, suddenly felt like a fault line between East and West. Its grand boulevards and historic buildings seemed to tremble under the weight of the moment. Supporters saw it as a national reawakening, a strike for independence from Brussels. They filled the squares with hope, waving flags and chanting for a future they believed would be free from Western dictates. Opponents, however, feared a return to foreign domination, swapping one master for another. Memories of past occupations haunted their thoughts, and debates grew heated in homes and public spaces. The Danube mirrored the division running through the nation, its waters reflecting both hope and anxiety, as if the river itself was uncertain which way to flow. This was the culmination of a decade-long political drama, marked by rising nationalism, shifting allegiances, and a growing sense that Hungary stood apart from its European neighbors. In cafes, young people felt betrayed, fearing a new ideological curtain might descend. Their dreams of a cosmopolitan future seemed to fade, replaced by anxiety about what tomorrow might bring. At the Great Market Hall, vendors argued over the morning papers, their voices rising above the clatter of commerce. Some saw opportunity, others only risk, as the nation's fate was debated over fresh bread and coffee. Was this geopolitical genius or national suicide? The question loomed over every conversation, every headline, every anxious glance toward the future. The government's move transformed the political landscape overnight, redrawing alliances and forcing every citizen to reconsider where they stood in a rapidly changing world. The nation stood at a precipice, looking at two vastly different futures, one rooted in the familiar embrace of Europe, the other in the uncertain promise of the East. The next steps would define a generation. This strategic shift is the brainchild of Prime Minister Viktor Orbán, who has long sought to redefine Hungary's place in the world. Orbán, a polarizing yet influential figure, has consistently challenged the status quo, pushing Hungary to chart its own course on the global stage. His much-discussed Eastern opening policy has now reached its dramatic conclusion, marking a turning point in Hungary's foreign relations and economic ambitions. Orbán argues that the 21st century will not be dominated by the West as in previous decades. Instead, he believes the balance of power is shifting. He envisions a multipolar world, where rising nations like China are actively rewriting the rules of global power and influence, challenging Western dominance. Orbán has declared, "We must be where the future is being written," signaling his intent to align Hungary with emerging global powers. This bold rhetoric resonates with many Hungarians, tapping into deep-seated desires for national respect, sovereignty, and a sense of pride in Hungary's unique path. Orbán openly champions an illiberal democracy, rejecting the Western liberal model in favor of a system he claims better reflects Hungary's traditions and values. He views the European Union as a federalist project that threatens to dissolve the unique character and independence of its member states, including Hungary. In this context, alliance with China and the BRICS nations, which operate on principles of non-interference and mutual respect, seems increasingly attractive to Orbán's government. Orbán believes the EU's economic engine is sputtering, weighed down by bureaucracy and stagnation, while BRICS offers fresh investment, new markets, and opportunities for growth. By decisively looking east, Orbán argues that Hungary can secure its economic future, strengthen its political independence, and carve out a new, influential role in a rapidly changing world. Hungary's willingness to risk its relationship with the West is rooted in history. Sovereignty is a sacred ideal, crushed and reborn through centuries. This historical memory is Orbán's political fortress. The story begins with the Mongol invasion, continues through Ottoman rule, and Habsburg dominance. The 1848 revolution became a foundational myth of modern Hungary. The Treaty of Trianon in 1920 dismembered Hungary, fueling historical injustice. The 1956 revolution against Soviet rule remains a defining event. This history creates suspicion of any bloc imposing its will on Hungary. The pivot to the east is built with concrete, steel, and massive investment, reshaping Hungary's landscape. The Budapest-Belgrade Railway, financed by China, is a key infrastructure project for the country's future. It promises to transform Hungary into a major logistics hub for the region. Supporters hail it as a game-changer, creating jobs and modernizing transport for everyday Hungarians. Chinese investment flows into other sectors, like a massive battery factory, boosting industry. The government presents these deals as proof of Eastern Opening's benefits and economic progress. Hungary joins the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, reducing Euro reliance and diversifying ties. The narrative of Eastern efficiency versus Western stagnation justifies the country's realignment. Hungary's move eastward has cleaved the nation in two. On one side, the pivot is seen as a patriotic masterstroke. For them, Orbán defends sovereignty against a new empire, the EU. They believe aligning with China restores dignity and prosperity. This camp is fueled by government-controlled media. On the other side, many see the pivot as a catastrophic mistake. They fear trading democracy for authoritarian influence. For them, the EU flag symbolizes freedom and opportunity. This division defines modern Hungarian life, a struggle over the nation's future. From Brussels to Washington, Hungary's actions cause concern. European leaders see Orbán's pivot as sabotage from within. Hungary's ties with China and Russia threaten EU and NATO unity. Some propose stripping Hungary of its EU voting rights. Others suggest cutting EU funds crucial to Hungary's economy. Analysts watch Hungary's gamble with fascination and trepidation. Some see it as a canary in the coal mine for the liberal order. Hungary could become a pawn in great power competition. The stakes are high, and a single miscalculation could be disastrous. Hungary stands at a historic crossroads, facing a decision that will not only shape its own destiny, but also send ripples far beyond its borders. The world is watching as this Central European nation weighs its next move, knowing that its choice carries global repercussions and could redefine its place on the international stage. The nation is caught between two worlds, betting its future on the balance between Western integration and the allure of an uncertain Eastern path. Will Hungary continue to embrace the values and alliances of the European Union, or will it pivot toward new partnerships that could alter its trajectory for generations? The potential rewards for Hungary are significant: economic dynamism, increased investment, and the promise of greater national sovereignty. A thriving economy could bring prosperity to its people and strengthen its voice in Europe. Yet, the risks are equally profound. Economic dependency on outside powers could leave Hungary vulnerable, while democratic erosion threatens the freedoms and rights its citizens have long fought for. The stakes are high, and the consequences could be lasting. For the European Union, Hungary's defiance is more than a political disagreement. It poses an existential challenge to the unity and values that bind the bloc together. Prime Minister Viktor Orbán's actions have exposed deep cracks within the European project, raising questions about the future of cooperation and trust among member states. Now, the EU faces a critical decision: how to respond when one of its own openly rejects its core principles. The outcome will set a precedent for how the Union handles dissent and division in the years ahead. Hungary's story is not just a national issue. It is a microcosm of a broader global struggle between democracy and authoritarianism, openness and isolation. The choice made in Budapest will echo across continents, testing the strength of Europe's unity and the resilience of the liberal order in a rapidly changing world.